Hello and welcome to HomeTech. HomeTech is a podcast dedicated to discovering and exploring new and old technologies for the home. We discuss news about the Internet of Things, home automation, and more. I'm Seth Johnson in Florida, and I'm joined by Jason Griffin in Los Angeles. This is episode 3, Alarm.com. Welcome to HomeTech. I'm Seth Johnson. I'm joined by Jason Griffin. Today's episode, we're going to touch a little bit on an internet service company called Alarm.com. Hey, Jason, how's it going?
It's going great, Seth. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. This is it's getting hot in Florida. I think we're up to 80 degrees today. It was kind of ridiculous for February.
Too early in the year for that. That's kind of what we had going on out here in California last weekend. But my wife and I actually went out and did some surf fishing on the beach, and so we were enjoying that summer-like weather.
Wow. Yeah, that's
it was nice.
Are you guys near any of that fire that's going on out there?
We are not.
Oh,
no.
Good.
We're in the concrete jungle portion of Los Angeles, so
gotcha.
We're very, very safe from fires.
It doesn't burn so well.
No.
So a couple things happened this week. Maybe you want to kick off some of the things that happened in the news. I saw that B&O came out with that's Bang & Olufsen came out with a like an automation type system.
Yeah, they're calling it the BioLink Gateway, and it looks like it was announced at ISE earlier this month. So this is recorded. This episode is being recorded on February 20th. Looks like it was announced earlier this month at ISE, and it's essentially Bang & Olufsen's continued foray into the home automation market. And so it looks like an interesting product. I have some things about it that perplex me a little bit. But, you know, Bang & Olufsen, they make beautiful products. They're a very user-centric company. Their designers are top-notch. So it'll be interesting to see how this product develops and kind of learn more about what market exactly they're targeting with it.
I don't know too much about Bang & Olufsen. They kind of seem like the Apple of AV, if you will. They kind of have their own kind of at least what I've gathered, it looks like they kind of have like their own infrastructure, their own TVs, their own stereo systems, and it all kind of works together. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like a lot of other companies, I feel like, what their reputation has been. You know, like in this show, we're speaking to do-it-yourselfers, but we both come from a professional home automation background. And the way that I've always kind of had an instinctual reaction towards products like this from companies like B&O is, oh, it's another closed system. It's another walled garden. You know, it'll work great if your entire AV system is B&O. But as soon as you introduce any other type of product, then, you know, good luck. But that's what makes this product interesting, is because all the press releases and everything that I've read say that it's aimed at open integration, and that it will allow you to tie in all these disparate systems into one user interface. And so they've released a software tool that supposedly very easy to program, like macros for your whole house. They even cite, in the press release, and I'm quoting here, just tell your remote you want to watch TV, and the system knows which curtains to draw, which lamps to turn on. Leaving home, power down all AV equipment, turn on the security system, and turn off all the lights with a single switch by the garage door, right? So they're definitely venturing outside of just your typical B&O audio-visual equipment.
Right. Yeah, they really haven't. That's what I know them from, is having, kind of a nice-looking TV and surround sound system, and sounding, too. I mean, they're known for their, kind of performance, and but the only times I've ever really seen them are in like a high-end dealer's office, or maybe in a mall store or something like that.
Yeah, so I think the real question is, as an end user, how does this make my life easier? Like, how does this actually, what's the architecture of this system? What do I have to buy? What do I have to plug in? If I have a lighting control system, maybe that's Philips Hue, then Does this talk to it? I don't know. There doesn't seem to be a lot of information about that. It says that the configuration tool comes with hundreds of drivers, and I'm quoting, but I can't really find any information on what drivers and what products it's compatible for, and the mechanism that it actually uses to talk to them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm kind of skimming through the press release too, and it says that they take industry standard HTML5 to a whole new level with a groundbreaking platform-independent UI that allows installers to simply choose which devices they want to integrate. So that's kind of neat that they have built their programming tool into. It sounds just like a web page, so you'd open up and just configure the system in a web page, hit save, and it does what it's supposed to do. So that could be neat. I'd like to get my hands on that one day.
Yeah, I think that it's still kind of early in this product's, I guess, life cycle, and I'll be keeping an eye on it to see what more information comes out, because when I think about automation, as it stands currently, we still talk to a lot of devices, especially when it comes to audio-visual devices with simple IR flashers. And this gateway, it doesn't appear to actually have IR hookups on it. So what does it actually, where does this actually fit in the architecture of a fully integrated home automation system? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this goes. Mm-hmm. And I'm on their website now, looking around, and they have some really. I'm big into modern design, and so their product really looks good to me. So,
well, I think that's why people are really interested, is because of their design, and it'll be interesting to see what, in terms of that aesthetic that B&O brings to the table, how they can make that carry over into home automation.
Right.
So, other products came out. There's a new do-it-yourself home security system that is just now finally available for purchase. It's called Piper, and it was an Indiegogo project that started, crowdfunding with a $100,000 goal. When I last looked at their funding page, which was just a couple days ago, they were at a little over $300,000. So it's definitely been generating a lot of interest. And have you taken a look at this product? Do you know much about it?
I've looked at a product called Canary that is very similar to this, kind of along the same lines. Now, I guess we should kind of just take a step back and describe what it is. It's a little device that you set up in your house, and it's got a camera, some sensors built into it, a motion detector, and if they're marketing it towards like a home security system. So if something happens, it can notify you to your phone without you having to pay like a monthly fee that's usually associated with security systems. There's another product called Canary that I've seen, but I'm extremely interested in this. This looks really cool, and I can't wait to see what these products end up doing, because I think they're going to be extremely disruptive to the security industry, which is very established and very old thinking. When it comes to technology, so there has not been very much innovation or progress in the security market until recently. I mean, we're going to talk a little bit about Alarm.com and some of the other systems that are out there, but security is still a very old industry, and it's a very basic industry, and this is definitely thinking outside the box. So it'll be very, very neat to see where these two products do or head, and then see what they do to the security industry.
Yeah, and by the two, you're referring to both Canary and Piper, because they are very similar. I can tell you one thing, that as somebody who lives in an apartment, a lot of this, the Internet of Things and all of these breaking stories and new products that are coming out, I still struggle a lot of times to try and figure out ways that it's actually going to be useful to me. And security and monitoring, like in terms of the way Piper and Canary are doing it, I don't struggle with that question. I see this as very applicable even to people that live in small apartments. It's very useful. It's a simple device. You set it up. It works wirelessly. You've got access through your smartphone to a camera so you can check on things, look in on your apartment. If you've got, maybe a nanny or a babysitter or people doing work at your house or apartment or whatever it is. So it's very approachable for people who live even in apartments, and not just apartments, but houses as well. But I'm just illustrating that this is one of those technologies that I think is really pushing the Internet of Things into people's everyday mentality, because a lot of younger people who would, be the early adopters of this new technology live in apartments. And so a lot of these full-blown home automation features on some of the new systems aren't really all that applicable, but with security and monitoring, I think it's kind of applicable to a wide market.
Right, and I mean, your investment's going to be $239 for the Piper, and it looks like $199 for the Canary. I mean, that's pretty minimal with somebody living in a it's pretty minimal, because you're going to shell that out in a couple months with a security system.
Yeah.
and just the monitoring fees alone. So I mean, yeah, that's a really disruptive price point.
I mean, I've been known to shell that out on dinner and drinks over a single weekend.
Right.
So it's one of those price points that does make you almost want to just buy one just to play around with it.
Right. Don't tempt me.
I know you got enough technology there, but yeah, it's definitely Piper and Canary, I think, are both companies to watch. And again, Piper just recently became available for purchase, and it looks like Canary is shipping estimated in July of this year, July 2014.
Right. So, like you said, be interesting to see where these two go.
Yeah.
Is there anything, I think the Wemo thing, I guess we could talk about that, huh?
Yeah, that was a big story this week. Belkin Wemo, there was a number of vulnerabilities in their, I guess, firmware that were discovered by a company called IO Active, which is a security services team. And it's
a bunch of hackers.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting business model. They're basically go out and they'll try to hack your product and tell you where the weaknesses are. But one of the interesting things that I read about this story was that they found a number of weaknesses and allegedly tried to contact Belkin to let them know. And from some of the stories I read, they didn't get a response. I don't know. I have no way of personally verifying if that's true or not, but I thought it was interesting. And I guess what they did is they turned to FEMA, believe it or not, a Computer Emergency Readiness Team, CERT, part of FEMA, which I had no idea existed, but they turned the story over to them, and which of course I'm sure lit a fire, and and it's been patched. I read an article came out yesterday, February 19th, said that the firmware had been patched and that all of the vulnerabilities that had been discovered have now been patched.
Well, I guess that's kind of the bigger story, is make sure, really with any technology, that you hit update. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients' homes I go to, and they're running, first they're running iOS 5 on their iPhones, just a couple years behind. And then on the App Store, you look on it, and it has, in the 10s, 20s, and 30s of updates that just haven't taken place on their phone. So I often wonder if they even work, other than maybe sending text messages and pictures. But man, hit updates. There's security bugs and all sorts of stuff that you can patch just by clicking one button on this stuff these days, and it's nowhere near what it used to be, where you'd have to pull the device down, plug it into a computer, and try and do some crazy firmware update on it while it was in a service mode. I mean, it's as easy as hit an update. So just run those patches.
Yeah, that is the big takeaway. I mean, we don't need to get into all the nuts and bolts of how these vulnerabilities worked and, the details necessarily of what they could do. I read that they could basically gain visibility to your entire local network, which is obviously not ideal, right, for somebody with malicious intent. But I think the takeaway is just the Internet of Things is presenting a lot of really cool possibilities in terms of technology, but it's also exposing end users to a fair amount of risk, I guess, in terms of personal data and that sort of thing. So just update. If an update is available, just do it, because that's what they're constantly working on, or at least you hope so, is that they're patching those security vulnerabilities that are being discovered.
Right. And one more piece of item of news, I guess. It's kind of interesting. I didn't know they did not have this, but SmartThings came out with two new products, actually. The first was a recessed door sensor. So instead of having those, they're not bulky anymore, but instead of having like a surface mount contact and magnet sticking off the side of the door, you could drill a hole in the door and recess this contact inside. And it's just a sensor with a magnet.
Right.
And, putting that inside the door makes for a nicer looking install. So that's good. It's like $52. It's not terrible.
Yeah, and that's just communicates wirelessly, correct?
Right. I think they said it was Z-Wave.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I think SmartThings is all Z-Wave, and
so
it's obviously going to be.
We may take that back, because I'm looking at their other new product, which is a smart power outlet, and it's $49, and it actually is a Z-Wave or a Zigbee amplifier as well. So they may be communicating on a number of different levels and just kind of hiding that. In the background. I mean, because who cares if they can talk to both Z-Wave and Zigbee? They're going to have their choice of products that they can pick from in the market, and in the end, so are consumers.
Yeah, I think that's, and we've talked about it before. I think that's kind of the key to the companies that are really going to take the Internet of Things to the next level and make consumers really want to dive in, is that total transparency, where because a lot of end users don't care if it's Zigbee or Z-Wave. Most of them don't. They just want it to work. So it's kind of an interesting side note that we're having this conversation, but the fact is, like, it just needs to work. You want it to be simple. You want to install it in the door jamb, install it in the door, and just not think about it. Just have it work. So,
yep, I'm looking at their hub page, the SmartThings hub, and it says both Z-Wave and Zigbee, as well as IP devices. But I mean, that's pretty cool. The reason I thought the last couple of weeks that they were actually Z-Wave were because the products they had on their purchase, I instantly recognized them as Z-Wave based devices. But this is when I read the description on this, it said Zigbee. So they've got two of those competing standards built into one device, and that's going to be good for everybody. So that's all right. I think I'm gonna have to buy one of these now. It's just getting ridiculous.
That did it, huh? That was the final straw there.
Yep, pretty much.
Nice. Well, yeah, there's obviously always a lot going on in the home automation news scene, but I think we've kind of covered some of the more timely stuff. So maybe we can move on to talk about Alarm.com a little bit. What do you think?
Sure, it works for me.
It's a product that's interesting to me. I had, to be honest, I don't have a lot of experience with it. I know enough about it to, carry on a reasonably intelligent conversation about it, but I don't have a ton of experience with it. But I believe, if I remember correctly, that you told me you actually have an Alarm.com system installed in your residence. Is that correct?
Right, and just full disclaimer, the dealership that I work for is set up with Alarm.com. We don't do a lot of security, but we, it's a neat product, so we do carry it. And so me bringing it home and testing it, I guess, in my own house is one way for me to figure out how well it works, I guess.
Yeah. So that brings up actually one question in my mind, because when I watch videos and hear about alarm.com, it sort of feels like a do-it-yourself solution, so to speak. But I see and just hear from you just now that it's actually a solution that seems to be primarily sold and installed through dealers. So could you speak a little bit to, how that works as an end user? Can I do this myself, or do I need to hire somebody to come in and do it for me?
No, this is one of those products that is set up and installed primarily through, as the name implies, through alarm companies. So that is kind of, let's take a step back. Alarm.com is not a products company. They are a service company that offers a online software that you can use a number of different types of security panels. I think there's 4 or 5 of them to communicate up to their service, and their service will handle the messages. And then if it's an alarm message, it'll forward it on to the central station for alarm processing and calling the police or fire department. So that whole setup there, since they're a security system centric, kind of made sense for them to get involved in the industry that way.
Right.
So no, to answer your question in full, there's not a way for an end user to actually do it yourself, but at the same time, the price point isn't so bad at all if you're interested in having this, and the service is actually pretty good. We talked a little bit earlier about those two, standalone security systems, Piper and Canary. While you won't have a monthly fee associated with those, what you do get back from a monthly fee are like homeowners insurance discounts and that kind of thing. I'm not trying to sell security systems at all. That's one advantage of having this. The disadvantage is that you do end up paying every month for this.
So if I'm a homeowner and I decide, okay, alarm.com looks cool, they've got this really neat app that allows me to do a lot of cool things related to my home security system, then I call up an authorized dealer and they'll come and install the hardware, but the hardware isn't made by alarm.com. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's mostly correct. I think some of it is branded alarm.com, and some of their cameras are branded alarm. They may sell some of their cameras, but the security systems that they use are made by companies primarily, the one we use is 2GIG, and that's owned by a company called Linear, which is a very large, I think, access and security company. It's safe to say. And GE, which got out of the security business and a couple of years back and sold all their assets over to a company I believe called Interlogix. I could be wrong on that, but they're still holding the GE name. Kind of like the IBM Lenovo ThinkPad that lasted for quite a while.
Yep.
They're just holding on to the brand name until everybody kind of gets comfortable with the other company that purchased the name. So both of the security system is pretty transparent to the alarm.com service and all the software. It's just sending the signals that it would normally send to a central station for monitoring to alarm.com. Alarm.com is processing those and sending them on to either your app on the phone. You can get a push notification, somebody disarms the system. You can get a picture of what's going on site too. They've got quite a few little products that can send those notifications to you. And then also it's not even required that you do security monitoring. If your dealer if you just want to do the alarm.com service, you could do that and just talk to the dealer about it, and they'll set it up that way. So you don't even have to do the central station monitoring.
Okay. All right. So that makes sense. I was going to ask you that when you said that it just sends these notifications straight to your phone. It does give you the option. So you what alarm.com is doing is empowering the end user to kind of act as their own monitoring center through their smartphone, is what I'm gathering. But then you also have the option, of course, of passing that message or notification or whatever. The door opened, the window broke, we sensed motion here. you want the option to also send that notification or alert to central monitoring so that, the police or the fire department or whoever needs to be instantly notified can be. But it's just also giving you a nice, pretty interface and empowering you to kind of act as your own monitoring system so that in real time kind of what's going on at your house. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's kind of, like I said, it's transparent as to what is going on, the panel, whichever panel you end up with. I personally have the 2 gig because it has a really nice interface to it, a little touch screen on there that you can, it downloads the weather. So when I arm the system at night, it always sits there and says, 50% chance of rain tomorrow, or, it's going to be sunny and here's the temperature. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't ever have to open my phone up to do it. It's just right there on the panel.
So that panel that you get with the touch screen interface, that will be different depending on what provider you go with.
Right. I mean, you could end up, if you had a GE system, that's only going to have the standard GE keypad, and there's not going to be any kind of fancy options with that. It's just going to be, the digit pad on the wall. But with 2 gig has a touchscreen interface, so when you disarm, you touch the buttons on it, on the touchscreen itself.
Got it. So as an end user, what am I looking at in terms of pricing for this product? Like, I'm assuming I don't have to pay 2 separate fees, one to a monitoring company and one to alarm.com, but maybe I do. Like, how does that pricing work?
No, all that's really just taken care of by the dealer. So the dealer who sets all this up would just have one flat price for whichever way you want to go. So, and that varies wildly between local dealers inside of a town. There's some pretty large national dealers that have different programs set up that run alarm.com, and you can instantly see that most of them are using those 2 gig panels with the touchscreens on them, because you can actually rebrand. They can put their logos on them and that kind of thing. So Vivint is one of them. That's pretty large.
Vivint. I know Vivint for sure.
Yeah, they're getting involved in a bunch of other things like energy monitoring and that kind of stuff. So, but definitely selling security systems is their first and foremost
bread and butter.
Yeah, bread and butter, exactly. So pricing is just going to depend on the dealer. I did some searching around some of the local guys here in town to see what they were doing, and it looks like you can get the panel installed for maybe $100 or $200, and the monitoring is going to be kind of either your standard monitoring, and there's going to be tiers too that go up in price. So if you add something like video storage, so that's one of the things alarm.com offers, is if you had a camera on site, it could actually integrate with the alarm.com software, and instead of having a recorder at the house, motion happens or an alarm is triggered, that video gets sent up to their servers, and it's recorded, in the cloud, so to speak.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of a neat thing. And you could go back on your phone and just see what happened, or just kind of see what's going on at that particular time. So it's all a pretty well integrated solution, all in all. Like it's kind of impressive to kind of take a step back and look at it. But if you add those cameras on, it's probably going to cost you more.
Right.
And they have a couple of other different tiers of service, so it's kind of hard for me to say what your out-of-pocket pricing is going to be per month, because it's just going to vary per dealer.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of a business guy, and I'm interested in the alarm.com's business model, but that's probably not a topic that we should dive into here. But yeah, it sounds like as an end user, I'm paying basically a flat rate. It just sort of depends on the tier of service that I want and who installs it, who's selling it to me, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And I think the basic service, I pretty much, I don't have cameras here at the house, but the basic service serves us well. I get a text message when myself or my wife, not a text message, but a push notification from the alarm.com app that says, the house system has been disarmed or armed. I can go into the app, I can arm and disarm the system. I can see history of what's happened when it was disarmed. But it also has a couple of other cool features that are built into their software. So I have it set up because I'm pretty forgetful. It's a
I
trait.
feel your pain.
It's a trait men have.
Yeah.
And sometimes I forget to arm the system. So I have an alert set up that after, I should be work by 10. So at 10, if that alarm's not armed, it sends me a text message and says, hey, or a push notification, not a text message, and says, hey, you didn't arm the system. Should you want to arm it? And you hit yes, and it'll arm the system. So there's some really cool,
And are those sort of reminders and things like that, I'm assuming are configurable by the end user?
Absolutely. That's where I kind of head with this, is that there's a whole lot that you can do inside the software that you couldn't do before. Like if you just had a regular security system and you wanted to add a user in, so I have a specific code, my wife has a code, we have some family members in town and they have their own specific code if they come over. With Alarm.com, I just go in there and I can add them in. When they come in the house, they disarm the system. I can see who disarms the system. So
which is handy, because if you have people working on your house, or maybe you have a cleaning service come by and you want to give them a separate code so that you can track that information separately in terms of when they're coming and going, that's what gives you the ability to do that. Right.
And it also has a another really cool feature that you can turn on the mobile app itself. It kind of does a geolocation, so it uses the GPS in your phone to determine where you are, and you can set up notifications and events based on that. So if you're near the house, it may tell you, hey, you want to arm your. You could put up these fences, and it can tell you what you want to do. You can set up rules and notifications based on where you are.
Yeah, so. And I think I saw actually a YouTube video this week that I think it was from ISE, maybe. Mm-hmm. And is that a relatively new feature? I can't remember which video I saw that on, but the particular video I was watching said that some of the providers like Vivint were still rolling that feature out. Do you know if they all have that available, or is that a new feature?
I'm not sure. I've had it since I put the service in sometime towards the end of last year, so I think it's...
so you've had it for a while.
Yeah. I mean, at least I didn't notice that it was something new, but I personally don't like anything that turns on the GPS on my phone. It tends to suck the battery out a little bit faster.
Right.
So I haven't tried it, but
separate conversation. But no, it's an interesting. It brings up a lot of interesting possibilities. What you can do with geofencing or GPS or whatever you want to call it.
Right. Another thing, if you're a business owner, they have the same service basically for businesses, and there are some really cool things you can use to make sure that if your business doesn't get disarmed by one of the employees in the morning, it'll let you know, and it has some pretty granular user control on that. So
you're almost like using it as a time clock in a way.
Exactly.
Like
That's what
who's showing up and when. Yeah.
So I mean, for businesses, it may make a lot of sense to have a system like this. They already have the security system, most likely.
Well, I have one last question, and then we can probably wrap it up. We're getting getting towards the end of our time here, but I noticed that Alarm.com basically gives you the ability to have your central panel, which is the brains of your alarm system, needs to communicate with the monitoring company and needs to have a way to get signals out of the house and back down to your phone. And I noticed that they have the ability to do that over a cellular connection, so that it's not relying exclusively on the landline, because in theory, somebody with malicious intent could cut the phone line coming into your house, and then your alarm system has no way of communicating anymore. So I saw that it has the ability to communicate over cellular, but I'm assuming that it also it maybe uses that as a fail-safe, and that it also gives you the ability to communicate over traditional, hardwired, plain old telephone system. Is that correct?
I don't think there's any POTS, which is the plain old telephone system. That's POTS, POTS. Uh-huh. I don't think there's any built into that service. I believe it's all over the cell, the GSM
So it's strictly wireless.
Yeah. I mean, you don't need a phone line for this. You don't need internet for most of it, except for cameras, I think. Most of the panels are just kind of plug and play. And
Right.
meaning you plug them into the wall for power, and they're up and going. So
Well, it begs the question. I mean, it's almost shocking to me as professional systems integrator who works in a lot of different houses all over Los Angeles. I work in some of the most affluent neighborhoods out here, and the cell service is horrible, absolutely horrible.
right,
So,
common complaint.
yeah, so
And then you stand inside of a 20,000 square foot house that has
that's built like
plaster
a bunker.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no cell signal in the middle of those. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of surprising to me, I guess, that they don't have the ability to communicate over a POTS, just plain old telephone system. Sounds like it's an exclusively wireless solution, which if I'm just, again, speaking from a position of limited experience with security panels and especially alarm.com, but if you live in a neighborhood where the cell reception is just terrible, it seems like a pretty critical function to be relying on cellular signal.
Yeah. I mean, I know a little on the install side. So with 2 gig, that's the panel I have. I could have bought a T-Mobile. There's different types, it's basically a SIM card with a cell modem basically attached to it. I could have got AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile. So maybe that kind of helps out. And I know some of them have like an external antenna that you could run into the wall or into another place where maybe you get a little bit better reception, maybe up into the attic or something. So I think there's some ways to install around that. And I just haven't, and I don't know 100% that they don't support POTS, but I haven't seen it used on this system in a long time. So if it's out there, I'll put it in the show notes, but I just haven't seen it. So
yeah, I was actually going to say we should just we'll make a note, we'll follow up on that, put it in the show notes, and maybe touch on it next week when we come back. But that was one of the questions I had, was just, is this really exclusively cellular? Because I work in so many locations out here in Los Angeles where up in Beverly Hills or the Palisades, where you're kind of in the hills, and the cell reception is just, it's awful.
Right. No, I mean, I totally agree with that, but what the advantage to that is you don't have to wait for the modem that's in these old security panels to dial up. I mean, when something happens at my house, I could be standing out. Well, this morning I came in through the wrong door. I was bringing in the recycle bins and came in through the side door, and that's an instant zone. So I wasn't thinking. I could hear the alarm going off inside, and I was coming back from the gym, so I had my phone in my hand too. And as soon as the alarm went off, I had a notification saying, "Hey, you have a pending alarm at your house." So, I mean, it's instant, and you don't have to wait for that modem to spin up and dial out and sync, with the old fax sounds and everything that you hear. It's old technology, and I don't even have a phone line in my house, so it's not really much of an option.
And a lot of people don't. I don't either.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. But it was a question that came up into my head as the natural skeptic that I am.
No, it does make a lot of sense. I have had the same problem as you in some of the larger homes built out of brick and stone. I mean, you just completely lose the reception in those areas.
And the architects and designers are always shoving our equipment down in the basement in a far off corner of the house where it's surrounded by concrete and metal. And if that's where your panel is and you only have a cellular connection, then you're in trouble.
Right.
But it's pros and cons, like you said. I mean, there's definite advantages to using that technology, but it's an interesting question to ask.
No, definitely. What I want to know is why they don't have an IP based solution, since it all seems to be going over the. I mean, if you didn't have a telephone, you're going to have a network, and that's going to be way faster than using. Well, it's about the same as using the GSM, but it's going to be less expensive on the install side, because you probably won't need to have that GSM modem and the monthly fees that are, not that you see those, but there are monthly fees that are associated with that. It would be interesting to see a service like this move into the full IP realm, maybe in the future. I don't know. There's certainly no reason they couldn't.
All right. Well, yeah, I think we've pretty much covered it. We're kind of running short on time here, so we should probably wrap up.
Sure, Jason. Where would people likely find you and ask you more about alarm systems? Yeah, you might want to direct alarm questions at Seth, but I'd be happy to definitely happy to hear from any of our listeners. And probably the best place to catch me is on Twitter at Jason Griffing. That's GRIFFING at Jason Griffing. Yep, and I'm on Twitter as well at Seth P. Johnson. And I mess up my Twitter handle every single week, so that's going to be a recurring theme.
You'll get it one of these days.
But if you didn't get that, then there's also, on our website, there's a new feedback form that you can fill out and shoot us a question on there. We'll get it and see if we can answer it next time we're on air.
Yeah, definitely. Let us know how we're doing, and I'll go ahead and wrap up. And we thank you all for listening, for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Seth, have a good week. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good. See you later, Jason.
All right.